going to have to choose a primary care physician at the time that you get onto the HMO. And the acronym for a primary care physician is PCP. So you have to select the PCP before you can even start the HMO. And the reason that is because your primary care physician is in charge of your healthcare. They're in charge of coordinating the budget, coordinating your care, coordinating everything. That really falls onto them. That's where the risk comes into play. So on an HMO, you've got these rules. One is you got to stay in network. Two, you've got to pick your primary care physician when you start the program, so you can't pick it later. And the third rule is that you're going to require a referral or permission every time that you want to see another doctor outside of dermatology and ophthalmology. But if you want to see a doctor, a cardiologist, a urologist, an oncologist, a hematologist, you're going to need to get a referral from your primary care physician. So on an HMO, it is absolutely imperative that you understand the rules that you must follow. And let's cover those again. Rule number one is that you have to stay in the network. Rule number two is that you must choose a primary care physician at the time that you take the product. And rule number three is that you must get permission or ask for referrals in order to see other doctors or get any procedures approved. Now that happens on the doctor level. So let's carry on about the HMO and what does that mean to you. Now that you've got a set expectation of what the general and basic rules are on HMOs, some people are going to argue with me and say, well, I have a certain kind of HMO. There are variations of HMOs, but today, for just conversation's sakes, we are talking about the traditional HMO. And on the HMO, sometimes it gets a bad rap. Now, these programs have been around for a long time, and they've gone through a lot of experiences, some good, some bad. And now most HMOs work really, really well as long as you understand the expectations and you can follow all of the rules. So some of those rules, as we went through before, are going to kind of expand into some other ways as well. The way that you're going to handle that insurance policy and how you're actually going to flow into the usage of it is understanding what your network is and who those doctors are that you can see. So having a list of your doctors and the ones that you want to see and the ones that you really like, that's a really good idea before you actually step forth and commit to getting onto an HMO. Understanding the power that your primary is on that HMO and he has relationships with those other doctors that are on that network is important too. Because remember that your primary care is going to be the one that needs to refer you to those doctors. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a clue here, a warning flag, something that you want to watch out for. If you're on an HMO, and I'm not saying everybody, but if you're on an HMO, this is a very big potential red flag. And you go to your doctor and you never see the doctor and you only see a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant, I'm telling you right now, that's a red flag. There are other doctors out there that have lower panels of patients and they will see you more readily and more often. And what that means is panel per patient means the amount of patients that each doctor has. And in the United States of America, the average is quite high. It's right around 2,200 patients per doctor. They are overworked. But that's the average. There are, as we most know, there are average people. There are under average people, and there are above average people, and there are exemplary people that are above all of those averages that you hear. So there are doctors out there that have low panels, 400, 500 people, and when they have those lower panels, they have more access to you. And believe it or not, that kind of a model with a low patient panel is becoming more and more popular, increasingly popular with the HMO risk model. So you're finding a lot more risk participating doctors, HMO doctors, that are participating in low panels so they can get more access to you. And the reason that they're able to do this is because on an HMO, that risk is not for free. The doctor is taking on the risk because the insurance companies are paying the doctor to do so. So another red flag for you is if you go to an HMO doctor and you can't get a referral and he says it's because of your insurance company, I'm telling you right now, there's a 99% chance that that doctor is not telling you the truth or doesn't understand the policy that you have. Because it's really up to him to give you that referral and it's up to his discretion because it is coming out of his budget. Now, to explain the budget and how HMOs actually function and how they work, that can get a little confusing. So let's keep it really simple. If you're talking about a Medicare HMO, which is very different than a individualized HMO, an ACA HMO, or a group insurance HMO, okay? A Medicare HMO works differently because it's connected to the federal government. So let's talk about a Medicare HMO. On a Medicare HMO, what's going to happen is in the state of Florida, I'll use state of Florida as an example because it's the state I live in. In the state of Florida, if you're on a Medicare HMO, the insurance companies are getting an average of $1,000 per month from the federal government every single month for every single person that they have on the program. In the state of Florida, we're right around 3 million people on Medicare Advantage. So out of those 3 million people, we're talking about $1,000 per person per month. That's $3 billion per month. That's over $36 billion per year coming into the state of Florida just for Medicare Advantage. When the insurance companies get this money, they have a choice to make. They can either create HMOs or they can create PPOs. And today we're talking about the HMO. So when this insurance company decides to go with the HMO contract, no matter what contract they choose, the insurance company can only keep 18% as profit. That's right, 18% as profit. So that old theory thinking that the insurance company is ripping you off, that doesn't happen on Medicare. They can't do it. There are checks and balances put into place, so these Medicare companies, they can't do that to you. So let's talk about that next step. When that HMO receives the $1,000, that HMO company, what are they going to do? They're going to prepay the doctor. And whatever that payment might be, maybe it's $500, maybe it's $800, whatever it is. They're going to take out their 18%, they're going to build the HMO program, and then they're going to prepay that doctor. That doctor, let's just say for conversation's sake, is getting $500, okay? $500 every single month, has 500 patients in his panel. That's how much money, guys? That's right. It's $25,000 every single, it's $250,000 every single month coming into his pocket. Fantastic, looks great, he's happy, it's really nice, right? Especially if he manages the program properly. Now all doctors manage their programs properly, so sometimes they overspend and they underdeliver. And what does that mean? That means you do a lot of different things that aren't necessary and that don't need to be done, and then all of a sudden someone gets sick and then you can't afford to treat the person that got sick, got cancer, heart attack, surgery, something of that nature. So what happens? That doctor then has to ask the insurance company for more money. Of course the insurance company is going to give him more money. That's what they're there for. But when they do that, it can be considered a strike. And if you guys know the rules of baseball, what happens after you get 3 strikes? That's right. Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, you're out. So a lot of times these doctors end up getting fired or released from the program or released from their contract, or the doctor can drop the contract altogether. So sometimes you may have been in a situation like this where you received a letter from a doctor saying he was dropping your insurance. And that's really what happens behind the scenes. So these doctors have a very big responsibility to run their book of business. In my experience, the better of the doctors are always the ones that are associated with a partner, because that partner runs the business side and the doctor runs the doctoring side. And if they communicate well and have a good partnership, you can really have a golden situation where you have a doctor's office that's smart on the money they're bringing in. They're treating everybody wonderfully, and what they're doing is preventative services. Those preventative services make you healthy, so you don't need larger surgeries and emergency room visits and the expensive visits. So that's the name of the game, right? I mean, you want to be healthy, they want you to be healthy, and they're being paid to do so. Well, that's the inner workings of an HMO, but if you go into it with the right information, the right expectations, and someone actually does the due diligence to ask you enough questions to make sure they can put all these things into a category and find a program that fits you, an HMO could really be the solution to a lot of your problems, especially if you're concerned about how much money you're spending on your program. Because on an HMO, the biggest win on an HMO, by the way, now I told you basically all the negatives and the rules that you got to follow. The biggest positive on an HMO is the cost. It's so inexpensive. I mean, these copays are very, very little. The max out of pockets are very low. Some of these max out of pockets are as low as $1,200. And what is a max out of pocket? A max out of pocket, M-O-O-P, a MOOP. If you have a max out of pocket of $1,200, that means that the most you could ever be financially responsible for in 1 year is $1,200. Anything over the $1,200, the insurance company has to pay at 100%. That's right, 100%. So this is a phenomenal opportunity for some people that find themselves in a little bit of a rock and a hard place, and all their doctors fall into line with an HMO. It could really work for you, okay? So it's important that you understand that there's some negatives, but there's some strengths to an HMO as well. Just like any program, you've got positive and negatives. The matter is, does it fit the season of life that you're in? You see, I believe insurance is much like seasons. We all have different seasons in life. We all have different seasons in our insurance. Sometimes it's summer. Sometimes it's spring, sometimes it's fall, sometimes it's winter, and things are bad, things are tough. In fact, on actuarial science, that's right, actuarial science, big word alert, actuarial science, it shows that every 36 months, a major tragedy usually happens in your life. And that's just on the average. And by major tragedy, something happening in your health. And that's a really scary thought to think about every 36 months if you start tracking it back. And I don't want you to go down a rabbit hole here, but it's important to know that. Because on an HMO, it can protect you, but it's important to have all the information. It's important to know all of the resources and what it can do for you, the positives and the negatives. So moving forward, make sure that you're talking to somebody that can do this for you. If you've seen any of my other videos, especially if you've read any of my books, I'm a #1 best-selling author in a couple of different places in a couple different books, and one of those books is about agent versus broker and the importance of choosing a broker, and that has a lot to do with being able to look at a variety of programs. And if you're looking at HMOs, you're really going to want to go to a broker and not an agent, because there's so many HMOs on the marketplace. You're going to want to be able to have a bigger snapshot of what's going on, and that way you can really categorize which one is going to be stronger for certain values. Because you may have a value in dental and not one so much in food or groceries. Or maybe your value is in groceries, getting fresh groceries, getting organic vegetables, things of that nature. Maybe you're getting stem cell and no insurance takes care of that, right? And you just want to get the offset of getting money back on a HMO program. So there's a lot of different strategies that you can use with an HMO. And really depending on where you are in life as well, you may have opportunities to go in and out of HMOs every single month of the year. So it really depends on your situation. The point is, you're going to want to contact somebody. So go ahead and do this. Make sure that you reach out to one of us here at ProCare Consulting, and we will walk you through this, no problems asked. The number's on the bottom of the screen. You can go ahead and call us right now. You can also click the link below, and you can contact us that way as well. You can also email us or visit us on our website at procare.consulting. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you enjoyed this brief information on just the basic HMO. Stay tuned where we're going to cover some more of the intricacies about other kinds of HMOs that exist. Guys, I appreciate it. Stay blessed. And remember, here's to your health.